How are the real estate assets treated differently in these scenarios?
So, in an independent administration, once you qualify and you're named as an executor or an independent administrator, you can generally sell or convey real property without seeking permission from the court. However, when you are dependent, it is a court supervised administration. So, you need to file an application and get the court's permission to sell or convey property to a third party.
When the court's involved with the selling of real estate, walk us through what is generally required by the court. What's the court looking for? What do they need from the real estate agent? What do they need from the people that are administering the estate?
So in my experience, it's wildly different depending upon the age of the heirs. So if there are heirs that are minors, I think that an application to sell real property is much more heavily scrutinized. When there are not minor heirs, I think the scrutiny level is much less. But they both still involve filing an application to sell the property and getting a court order essentially giving you permission to sell the property. It is generally not a very time consuming process once someone has been named, but it's still an extra hurdle that you need to get over and across once you've been named as a dependent executor or a dependent administrator. As far as what's required on the real estate side, once there's a signed court order, you have authority to be able to convey the property. There may need to be estimates, appraisals of that real estate as part of the application to make sure that nobody's being shortchanged on an inheritance.
Yeah, yeah. When in your experience of dealing with, your clients, what are some of the issues or questions or challenges or, problems that have come up with real estate, in this situation?
Quite a few, really. And I'll start with some of the biggest ones that I see on a regular basis. I'll just give you a hypothetical that is pretty common. I'll have someone who will pass away, and we need to open a probate administration to not just deal with assets, but deal with real estate. And it turns out that, they had a spouse who passed away previously, and nobody opened an administration and nobody transferred that property. So people have this assumption, and I'm not going to say it's a bad assumption or that it's wrong, but a lot of the people that I speak to, at least in my practice, just kind of assume that when two people are married and one spouse dies, well, then all the property just magically goes to the other spouse. And that's not how it works. And a lot of people are really surprised to learn that it's not just, waving a magic wand, that all the property went from spouse A to spouse B. So that's something I see quite a bit. Sometimes I'll see it too, where somebody passes away and they own real estate, and maybe they're single, but there's an issue in the property chain. Maybe they inherited that property or a portion of that property from their parents, but their parents' estate wasn't resolved completely, so they don't have clean title to be able to sell it. So sometimes there's even more work to do than what people anticipate.